he's the one who's behind the scenes with stuff like that, and he helped me write Friday. Whenever we together, it's just magic. Like, people quote it, love it. The characters are iconic.
A movie made in 20 days. A budget so small it wouldn't cover a single music video today. A cast that almost looked completely different. And a script that came straight from stolen moments, real-life characters, and raw neighborhood truth. Friday, 1995, wasn't just a comedy. It was a miracle that almost didn't happen. And after nearly 3 decades, the walls are finally talking. Ice Cube has been sitting on some of these stories for years. Some of these facts were buried in interviews. Others were whispered between cast members who swore they'd never tell. But today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most beloved hood comedies ever made. And what you're about to hear will change the way you watch Friday forever. Stick with us to the end, because fact number 12 is something almost no one saw coming, and it ties the entire movie's legacy together in a way that will blow your mind. Let's get into it. Fact number 1. Ice Cube was told this movie would ruin his career. Before one frame of Friday was ever shot, before one line was ever spoken on that iconic porch, Ice Cube faced something that would have broken most artists. The people closest to him told him he was making a mistake. Think about that for a second. This wasn't just strangers doubting him. This was his inner circle, his crew, his people, and they all looked him in the eye and said the same thing: "Don't do this." At the time, Ice Cube was one of the most feared and respected voices in hip-hop. He had left NWA under dramatic circumstances. He had dropped America's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, and The Predator, albums that hit like sledgehammers. He was political, he was raw, he was serious. And now he wanted to make a comedy? The rap world didn't know what to do with that. Some people said he was selling out. Others thought he was going soft. And Hollywood? Hollywood wasn't interested at all. Studios saw a low-budget hood comedy written by a rapper and said, pass. But here's what those critics missed. And this is the key to understanding everything about Friday. Ice Cube wasn't pivoting away from truth. He was chasing a different truth. He'd spent years rapping about the darkness in South Central Los Angeles, but he knew something that the movies hadn't shown yet. There was also laughter there. Real, deep, belly-shaking laughter. Friends hanging on porches, neighbors arguing over nothing, fathers being ridiculous. That joy existed too, and no one had put it on screen. So when people told him the movie would ruin his name, he made a decision that only legends make. He ignored them. The question is, what gave him the confidence to do that? We'll come back to that. But first, let's talk about the man who helped him build the foundation. Fact number 2. The movie was based on real people, including DJ Pooh's drug habit. Here's something most fans don't know. The characters in Friday weren't invented. They were remembered. When Ice Cube and DJ Pooh sat down to write the script, they didn't go looking for fictional drama. They went looking in their own lives. And what they found was gold. Craig losing his job on his day off after being accused of stealing boxes? That came directly from something that happened to one of Ice Cube's cousins. It wasn't exaggerated for the film. It was barely changed. Cube heard that story and thought, that's the most Friday thing I've ever heard in my life.
Might as well. Come on, Craig, man. Stimulate your mind, man. It's Friday. We're gonna get you high.
But here's where it gets really personal. Smokey, the character that would make Chris Tucker a star, was based on DJ Pooh himself. His habits, his energy, his relationship with weed. DJ Pooh essentially wrote himself into the script and handed the role to someone else. That takes a certain kind of humility and self-awareness. You have to be willing to look at yourself and say, this is funny, this is real, and the world deserves to see it, even if it's not me playing it. Debo, the neighborhood bully who terrorized everyone on the block, drawn from real people they grew up around. Craig's father, with all his hilarious bluntness and old-school advice, real. The energy of that neighborhood, the rhythms of those conversations, all of it came from memory. This is why Friday hits different from most comedies. You're not watching characters, you're watching people. And the people who made this movie knew that the most powerful stories aren't the ones you invent, they're the ones you lived. Now, Here's where things get complicated, because while the story was real, the path to getting it made almost fell apart before the cameras ever rolled. Fact number 3. DJ Pooh was supposed to play Smokey and was cut by the studio. Let's sit with this one for a moment because it's layered. DJ Pooh didn't just co-write Friday, he wrote Smokey with himself in mind. He knew the character inside out because the character was essentially him. When it came time to cast the film, he expected to step into that role naturally. The problem? New Line Cinema had conditions for financing the movie, and one of those conditions was that DJ Pooh couldn't play Smokey. The studio didn't think he had enough acting experience. They wanted someone with more presence on screen, more proven ability to carry comedic scenes. For Pooh, that had to sting. Imagine writing a character modeled on your own life, and then being told you're not qualified to play yourself. But here's what makes this moment remarkable. DJ Pooh stepped aside. He took a smaller part, Red, the guy who gets beaten up and keeps coming back, and he let the movie move forward. He didn't blow up the project. He didn't demand his name off the script. He made a sacrifice for the greater good of something he believed in. That decision changed the course of comedy history, because when DJ Pooh stepped back, the door opened for Ice Cube to go searching for someone new. And that search would lead him to a young, fast-talking comedian from Atlanta who had no idea he was about to become a legend. Fact number 4. Chris Tucker nearly lost the role after a disastrous first audition. Nobody talks about this enough. Chris Tucker, the man whose performance as Smokey became one of the most celebrated in comedy history, almost didn't get the part.
I know this, but I'm gonna get you high today. 'Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job.
When Tucker showed up for his first audition, it was a disaster. He looked tired. His timing was off. The jokes didn't land. The energy that made him electric on Def Comedy Jam wasn't there. And the people in that room started to wonder if Ice Cube had made a mistake pushing for him. Here's the context. Tucker had been doing non-stop stand-up shows across the country. He was grinding hard, chasing his dream, barely sleeping. By the time he walked into that audition room, he was running on empty. He hadn't had proper time to rest or prepare, and it showed. After the audition, the mood shifted. Some team members thought they needed to go back to the drawing board. Names like Chris Rock and Tommy Davidson, the studio's original suggestions, started coming back up. The clock was ticking, money was tight, and they needed to make a decision. But director F. Gary Gray wasn't ready to give up. He had watched Tucker work. He knew what was underneath the exhaustion. He fought for Tucker to get a second chance, using his own credibility with the studio to keep the door open. And then something beautiful happened, because in this story, help came from an unexpected place. Fact number 5. Angela Means helped save Chris Tucker's career. Angela Means, who played Felicia, yes, that Felicia, the one who gave us one of the most quoted lines in movie history, did something extraordinary off-screen.
Craig, if we had an air conditioner, I would let you use it. No
Damn, look.
When Tucker was given a second shot at the audition, he needed to prepare, and Means reached out. She invited him to her home, cooked dinner for him, and sat with him for hours, going through the lines. Not because anyone told her to, not because it was in her contract, but because she believed in what they were all trying to build together. Think about the generosity in that. She was already in the movie. She had nothing to gain, but she chose to pour into a fellow artist who needed support at a critical moment. When Tucker walked back into that second audition, everything had changed. He was rested, prepared, and locked in. His quick wit exploded off the walls. His improvisational instincts were sharp. He didn't just read the lines. He elevated them. He became Smokey in that room right before everyone's eyes. The casting question was settled, and the movie was never the same again. Now, here's what we want you to think about. If Angela Means had stayed home that night, would Friday have been the same film? Would Chris Tucker have become the star he became? Sometimes the biggest moments in entertainment history hinge on a single act of kindness from someone the history books barely mention. Fact number 6. The film had less than $3 million and only 20 days to shoot. Let's put this in perspective. Major Hollywood comedies today routinely cost $50 million, $80 million, even $100 million to produce. They have months of shooting schedules. They have backup plans for backup plans. Friday had less than $3 million, and they had 20 days to film an entire movie. Every hour on set cost money they didn't have. Every mistake was expensive. Every delay threatened the entire project. This wasn't a film set with the luxury of reshoots and second chances. This was a sprint with no margin for error. And yet, somehow, the pressure produced something magical. When you don't have money to waste, you get creative. You lean into what you have. You rely on your actors' instincts instead of elaborate setups. You trust real locations and real lighting instead of manufactured perfection. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, that constraint forces a kind of authenticity that no amount of money can buy. Ice Cube understood this. He looked at filmmakers like Robert Townsend, who made Hollywood shuffle on credit cards, and Kevin Smith, who made Clerks for next to nothing. He saw that limitation wasn't a death sentence. It was a challenge. And he'd been meeting challenges his whole life. But don't let the success story make you forget how terrifying those 20 days must have been. Because while the cast was out there laughing and improvising on that porch, behind the scenes, Ice Cube was watching every dollar, making sure the machine kept moving. Fact number 7. Ice Cube stayed completely sober during the entire shoot. Here's a fact that surprises almost everyone. Friday is a movie about weed. The entire premise hangs on Smokey smoking up the stash he was supposed to sell, and both of them spending the day trying to come up with the money to pay Big Worm back. Marijuana is practically a character in this film, and Ice Cube, the movie's creator, writer, producer, and star, didn't touch it once during filming. Not once. This wasn't about disapproval. This was about focus. Cube knew what was at stake. This was his first major film, his vision, his money and reputation on the line. He couldn't afford, literally and figuratively, to lose his edge for a single moment. While the vibe on set was loose and improvisational, Cube was locked in as a producer. He was watching performances, monitoring the budget, keeping the schedule on track. He was playing Craig, a character content to drift through a Friday with no real agenda, while simultaneously being the sharpest, most disciplined person on the entire set. That duality is fascinating, and it tells you something important about how great creative work gets made. The freedom you see on screen is often the result of invisible discipline behind the scenes. The laughs audiences enjoy are protected by someone off-camera who never stops working. Ice Cube was that person, and it's one of the reasons Friday exists at all. Fact number 8. 2 future stars had hidden cameos most people missed. Friday is famous for what's on the screen, but some of the most interesting things about this movie are hiding in plain sight. A 13-year-old Megan Good appears in Friday as one of the neighborhood kids. She was barely a teenager. She had no idea she was standing at the beginning of what would become a long and successful career in Hollywood. She's there in the background, a face in the neighborhood, easy to overlook, which is almost unbelievable to watch now. And then there's Michael Clarke Duncan. Before he moved audiences to tears in the Green Mile, 1999. Before he earned an Academy Award nomination. Before he became one of the most recognizable figures in Hollywood, Michael Clarke Duncan was playing a background craps player on the set of Friday. No lines, no close-up, just a big presence in the frame that most people walked right past. These weren't flukes. These were people at the beginning of their journeys, fighting for every small opportunity, not knowing yet what the future held. Friday, without intending to, became a time capsule. A snapshot of talent before the world knew what it was looking at. The next time you watch the film, look closer. History is hiding in the corners. Fact number 9. An unscripted moment created. One of the most iconic scenes. Here is the truth about great movies. Some of the best moments are never written. Angela Means was supposed to walk up to the porch where Ice Cube and Chris Tucker were sitting. A simple, scripted beat. But when the cameras rolled, she made a spontaneous decision. Instead of approaching from the side, she walked right between them and sat down like she owned the space. Tucker's reaction was completely real. He hadn't expected it. His surprise, his annoyance, his comedic indignation, none of it was performed. It was genuine. And that genuine reaction is exactly why the scene is so funny.
Craig.
Bye, Felicia.
Y'all stingy.
The best improvisational comedy works like this. You can't fake real surprise. You can't manufacture authentic irritation. When Tucker reacted to Mean stepping between him and Ice Cube, audiences felt it because it was real. The camera just happened to be there. This is the paradox of great comedy filmmaking. You prepare everything so that the unprepared moments can breathe. F. Gary Gray created a set where actors felt safe enough to take risks, to go off script, to react honestly. And that culture of creative trust produced scene after scene of moments that felt alive in a way that polished, over-rehearsed comedies rarely do. How many other unscripted moments made it into Friday? More than most people realize. The movie breathes because the people making it were breathing freely. Fact number 10. The movie deliberately broke from the hood film formula, and Hollywood hated the idea. By the early 1990s, Hollywood had a template for movies set in black neighborhoods: Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, Juice. These were important, powerful films, but they shared a common thread: danger, death, streets as a battlefield. Darkness as the default. Ice Cube knew those movies. He respected them, but he also knew they were telling only part of the story. Nobody was making movies about the in-between moments, the moments when nothing dangerous was happening, when you're just sitting on the porch because it's hot inside, when your neighbor is arguing with her boyfriend again, when your dad is telling the same story for the 15th time, when your friend is just being your friend, doing absolutely nothing productive, and it's somehow the best day you've had in months. That was the movie Ice Cube wanted to make, and nobody in Hollywood wanted to fund it. The studios couldn't see the market. A comedy with no big action set pieces, no dramatic crisis, no real villain beyond a weed debt. It didn't fit the formula. It didn't scan as something that would sell tickets. But Ice Cube had grown up in South Central. He knew what was funny to people who lived that life. He knew what would make them feel seen. And he trusted that instinct more than he trusted a studio executive's spreadsheet. When Friday finally hit theaters, the audience response was immediate and undeniable. People didn't just laugh, they recognized themselves. They saw their block, their people, their Friday afternoons. And that recognition is something money can't manufacture. Hollywood had passed on something real, and Friday made them regret it. Fact number 11. The battle over credit nearly destroyed the partnership forever. This is where the story gets complicated and uncomfortable and important. Ice Cube built Friday from the ground up. He conceived it, co-wrote it, produced it, and starred in it. It was his vision, his neighborhood, his risk. When studios wouldn't bite, he pushed through. When the budget was almost nothing, he made it work. Friday exists because Ice Cube willed it into existence. But Chris Tucker took the script and turned it into fire. The off-script moments, the energy that bounced off the walls of every scene, the timing that made even simple lines feel hilarious. The character of Smokey as the world came to know and love him.
Just give me 3.5 minutes, maybe even 4. She'll be wanting to marry a nigga.
That was Tucker. His instincts were irreplaceable. His natural comedic rhythm gave the movie a pulse that no one had fully anticipated. And as Friday's popularity grew, as it became not just a movie but a cultural institution, a quiet tension began to take shape. Who really made this movie? Fans began talking about Tucker as if Friday was his film. Smokey became the face of Friday in popular culture. Cube, the guy who had written, produced, and starred in it, started to feel like he was being pushed to the background of his own creation. It's worth pausing here to ask a genuine question. Is that fair? When a writer creates a world and an actor breathes extraordinary life into it, who deserves the credit? Is it the architect or the person who made the architecture feel like a home? There's no clean answer. But what's clear is that both men had reason to feel proud, and both men had reason to feel undervalued. That tension didn't explode publicly, but it quietly poisoned the partnership. When next Friday came around and Tucker walked away, the official reasons were faith and money. But people close to the situation knew there was more underneath. Faison love, who played Big Worm, hinted at it.
What's up, Big Worm?
How much you got left?
Man, I got a lot.
You still ain't sold that weed, Smokey?
The opening of Next Friday even dropped a line that many insiders read as a direct shot at Tucker, a dig about who deserved credit for writing the first film. Most casual viewers missed it. The people in the room didn't. When creative ownership becomes disputed, it rarely ends cleanly. And with Friday, the legacy was too big for both men to hold without some of it spilling over onto the other's side. Fact number 12. Chris Tucker turned down $10 to $12 million to walk away, and it was about more than faith. This is the fact that ties everything together, and it's more layered than any headline has ever captured. When Next Friday was being put together,
She must be worse than Left Eye from TLC or something.
Yeah, but this fat bitch ain't burning. That ain't the cold part.
Chris Tucker was offered a reported $10 to $12 million to reprise the role of Smokey. To put that in context, the entire budget of the original Friday was under $3 million. He was being offered 3 to 4 times the total cost of the first film just to show up and do it again. He said no. The official reason Ice Cube gave was faith. Tucker had undergone a deep religious transformation, and he didn't want to portray drug use in a way that made it look cool or appealing, especially to young fans who looked up to him. That part is true and well documented. Tucker himself confirmed it in interviews. He genuinely felt that playing Smokey again conflicted with who he was becoming. But there was also Rush Hour. Around the same time, Tucker was in talks for Rush Hour with Jackie Chan, a film that would earn him $20 million per movie and turn him into an international superstar. No Friday sequel could match that financial ceiling. No amount of renegotiating would get there. And beyond the faith and the money, there was the credit issue we just discussed. There was a partnership that had grown strained. There was a dynamic that had shifted. Tucker didn't want to go backwards, not spiritually, not financially, and not creatively. His absence from Next Friday created a void that the sequel never fully filled. The film was funny on its own terms, but viewers could feel something missing. That particular electricity, the specific chemistry between Tucker and Cube, was gone. You can replace an actor. You can't replace chemistry. Years later, Tucker said he was proud of Friday and always would be. He called it a classic. He loved the experience, but he didn't want to go back. He wanted to keep moving forward. And here's the final, most important truth of this entire story. Friday is a movie about one day, one specific, ordinary, extraordinary Friday. It wasn't supposed to be a franchise. It wasn't supposed to have sequels. It was supposed to capture a single day in a neighborhood and make you feel like you were there. Chris Tucker's departure was painful for fans, but in a strange way, it preserved something. It kept that first Friday pure. Smokey lives on in exactly one movie, and because of that, he's immortal. So now you know, 12 facts that most Friday fans have never put together in one place. A movie that almost didn't happen. A cast that almost looked completely different. A partnership that built something magical and then quietly fractured under the weight of its own success. And a legacy that, 30 years later, refuses to fade. But here's what we want to know from you, and we genuinely want you to weigh in on this. Do you think Friday would have been the same movie if Chris Tucker hadn't gotten that second audition? Do you think the credit dispute between Cube and Tucker was handled fairly? And most importantly, was Tucker right to walk away, or do you think he made a mistake? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. We read every single one. And before you go, think about this. The next time you're having a rough Friday, the next time nothing's going right and the day feels like it's slipping away from you, remember that one of the most iconic comedies ever made came from a group of people who had almost nothing, were told it wouldn't work, and decided to make it anyway. Sometimes the best things are built exactly like that. If this video added value to your day, hit that like button and subscribe, because we go deep on the stories behind the stories that shaped culture. New videos drop every week, and you do not want to miss what's coming next. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.